Hi, everybody. I'm Barbara, and I'm a grateful compulsive overeater. And I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet, and I do that without exception. And my abstinence is the most important thing in my life. And I just, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you, Laura, for asking me to come. And I'm sorry that I don't know how to do not disturb. I'm pretty technological in certain ways, but others not as much. So on Sunday, which was April 30th, so no longer the month of May, I celebrated 18 years back. I say back because some of you I know, well, many of you I know on this meeting, have struggled. And I guess I want to share my story as succinctly as I can, because it's hard to talk about a 15-year relapse, a part one of abstinence and a part two of abstinence. And now is what, probably, 14 minutes remaining. So anyway, I've just been always obsessed with food since I can remember. And it started with body dysmorphia, really, because even though I was probably I was a chubby kid. For those of you who live in the United States, I don't know how many there are, but there was like the X department. You weren't a 6, you were a 6X. And I was always in that X section. And I was recently at the Connecticut retreat, and I happened to be very small in stature. And so clothes were just like, it was a mess, just like I was in the X's, but I was really little, and you just couldn't get it right. And my mother was not someone who hid her disappointment in my compulsive overeating. And that is, let's just say, an understatement. So like many of us, oh, such a pretty face. And I used to be in the performing arts in college, and she would say things like, I'm so proud of you for getting up on the stage looking like that. And just like, what a lot of us have dysfunction, some more, words, some physical, we're all here, not because of our dysfunction. I believe, I can only speak for myself. I am here because I discovered in 1984, after lots and lots of research, that I am chemically addicted to sugars, grains, and carbohydrate. It's not my fault. It's not because, I could never get along with my mother. It's not because my father was withholding and never was, touched me. It's because when I put those substances that we avoid on the gray sheet into my body, it metabolizes just as alcohol does for the alcoholic. And so that was the message I got when I came in, and it is the message that I continue to get. So I was very excited by the Connecticut retreat, and I'm not like proselytizing, to go to a retreat, although I think it's an amazing thing to do. But there were so many people counting days, and they got a guaranteed 3 days, unless of course they were hiding things in their room, which they could have been. Knowing me, that is definitely something I could have done, but and to just hear them do their day count on day 1, and then on Sunday, day 3, was a friggin' miracle. And I just love hearing the day counts. I know all too well that it sometimes feels like I just can't say this day one more time. Or how can I was like the secretary of the original Cambridge Gray Sheet meeting. Like, I can't come back. That's so humiliating. That kept me out for 15 years. Um, so I really do want to focus on what is it that I do to stay abstinent. I remember when I looked at that gray sheet, I came in through a friend of mine who just recently celebrated 41 years, and she told me what she was doing, and I was like, you you are kidding me. She showed me the gray sheet and I was like, we're gonna die on that. Like there's nothing that I can eat. And then I looked at foods we avoid. And alternatively, I was like, that's all I ever ate. I was a complete sugar addict. That was it for me. I still don't understand people and their stories who talk about, binging on savory stuff. Like that was just not my thing, although I do believe that you can be a compulsive overeater with that. But I just was like, how can you survive? And what are half these vegetables? I truly did not know what half the vegetables were on the gray sheet. And I remember going back to my family who knew my friend because we grew up together. And I was like, you can't believe what that poor thing is doing. It's like she's putting food in a cup in a restaurant and she's checking labels. I mean, it has gone so far. I just eat a little bit too much. I'm just 40 pounds overweight at 4'10", because I like to eat sweets. And it took me not like a few years after my first introduction to the gray sheet until I finally reached bottom, or a first bottom, I should say. And I came up to Cambridge, and this is another reason why I thought, like, I'm never going to eat again. I considered it a detox. Now we have all these meetings and Zoom, and the community is throughout the world. I was living in Philadelphia at the time. I was throwing boxes of X out the window at 65 miles an hour so that I wouldn't get caught. Because everyone always knew I was on a diet. And I thought like it was going to go on my, gravestone that they found stuff on the floor of my car and they thought I was on a diet. Like that's what I was thinking about. Or another greatest hits of mine, which I know people share, is eating until I'm sick and putting like dish soap on it and then throwing it down the trash chute and going out in the middle of the night when there was a little bit of digestion and I had some room, and going down and doing, I said I should have been a surgeon the way I was trying to uncover the portion of the food that did not have the dish soap on it. Some people have shared that when they did that, they didn't even bother, like they just ate it. So, some of us eat out of the garbage, some of us, we all have different stories, but I'm addicted to sugars, grains, and carbohydrates. That's what it comes down to. So, I went to a meeting. I called her like a week before I came up because I was going to dog sit for someone who was going on vacation in Gray Sheet. I don't even know who she was. And I said, just give me the name of somebody. Just, I don't care what her political affiliation is. I don't care what she looks like. I don't care if she has a sense of humor, just like I was desperate. And I just want to read something just because while I was away on the retreat over the weekend, somebody texted me and didn't know that I was there and just said, are you available to sponsor? And I said, no, but there are people. I'm at the retreat and there are a lot of available people. So I'm happy to get you somebody. And she said, that would be great. Thank you so much. But then I get yes, please. I'd appreciate a recommendation if you can. perhaps I can give you an idea of what I'm looking for. In the past, I've found that a non-shaming, collaborative kind of approach where I feel safe has been helpful. Does that make sense? Now, I don't, obviously, it's anonymous. Nobody knows who this is, and it is not meant as a shaming or a humiliation. I just
10 minutes, Barbara.
Thank you so much, Doreen. That's perfect. I mention it because when people ask, how did you get abstinent? And I'll talk briefly about the last, when I came back. It was complete and utter desperation. If somebody had told me to, cut off my left arm, I would have. I mean, I had reached such a low. It didn't matter who my sponsor was. And it was just very like symbolic of where I was. And to be negotiating who a sponsor is, it's just like, do you want this or do you not want this? So anyway, just very briefly, last 5 minutes, last 20 years, the life that I was given was starting to get in the way of my abstinence. And I believe that when I ate, I did not just wake up one morning and say, oh, I think I'll eat. I stopped going to as many meetings. I stopped being as connected as I was to people. And there was a direct result in how, if salad dressing spilled into the salad, I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. If, my cups got a little high, that's what a lot of us did back then. It was fine. It's in a cup. It's balancing. What's the problem? And gradually I thought, I can do this. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm really not. I was in such a full life at this point. I'm like, you know what? Nobody in Gray Sheet is in as full of a life as I am. I can do this with exception in restaurants. That was a huge thing for me. Like that, it felt so humiliating. And so gradually I ate. I left. And I started everything that I did again, but this time, like times 10. By that time, there were so many new things out now. And I don't know, it's hard to fast forward through 15 years of eating, but I came back in 2005 with 3 kids, a husband. I didn't have my dog at that point. I should say husband, 3 kids. That's the right order, mostly, not necessarily. I didn't actually gain so much of the weight back, but I was a poster child for like insanity between my ears. And I mean, I couldn't have cared less about a kid's first step. Like everyone has all these books and, like, oh, look. And I'm like, where's the food? Just like all these milestones. And I was like a rager, like a complete raging alcoholic. So in 2005, I went back to the Saturday morning meeting, and it was not easy. And people, had not left so much the community, but left the geographical community. So it was some people were still there, some people not. And I had reached like a bottom lower than I ever thought I could get to. And that's when it felt I could have read that now, because I just got a sponsor and I've been weighing and measuring ever since then. People said, well, you didn't really have day ones. I'm like, no, that's true. I only had 15 years of day ones. When I was going to do Gray Sheet, I was going to get 90 days. And then I was going to come back and tell everybody what had happened. And needless to say, that technique does not exactly work. So for the last minute or whatever, I celebrated at the retreat. It was wonderful to be with Gray Sheet people. I have been working in these last 18 years, which I did not do the first time, to combine not my food and my emotions. Like there's a big, don't combine your life and your food, like just they keep them separate. But I have combined my gray sheet life with my regular life, and they are one or working towards being one. And even though the people on these meetings, and I don't even, I don't know a lot of people's last names, I would sooner call you all with something, whether it's a food thing or a life thing. The people in the outside world, as much as they, I try to have supportive people, I put my abstinence first, and I will do whatever it takes to stay abstinent. And I do service. I show up every day. I love the people who have years and years and years, and they're on a meeting every day. It's like every day I wake up is a new day, and I put it first. So I think I will wrap up. I would love if
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Perfect. And thank you again, Laura, for the opportunity to share. And I just want to hear from everybody counting days and not counting days. So thank you.